I went in the Army in 1965.
Joined the Army in June of 1966.
I was drafted July 5th of 1967.
I was enlisted for 6 years prior. Went before the board for OCS, got accepted, went to Benning, graduated in 66.
Joined the Army in 1966.
I wanted to be a state trooper, Pennsylvania state trooper, and I was too young, so I thought if I got military experience, it would help me.
I went down to enlist at that time, and they asked me what I wanted to do, and I said I wanted to go into the military police. They did my physical and everything, and they came back and said, I'm too short for the military police. So I said, well, the heck with you then, I'm going to go to school. So I went to school for a year, and then they drafted me. And after basic, I get my orders, and they sent me to military police school. So
the draft was about to get me because they got one of my high school classmates. So I knew I was going to be going pretty soon.
The draft was really growing, and you expected it. It wasn't a matter of if, it was a matter of when.
I responded to a letter that I received from Lyndon Johnson. I'm a draftee.
It was interesting to get my letter from the President of the United States inviting me to the military.
On a Sunday night, my mom called. I was about 400 miles from home. Got a telegram. If you don't show up Wednesday morning, a warrant will go out for your arrest. So I was in the Army 3 days later.
A year I got transferred to Saigon, where there was 11 Australians and 1 New Zealand military police, and we were billeted with the 716th military police.
It was pretty routine. You did security duty on billets and on facilities and different things like that. And you did motor patrol, walking patrol, and it was a lot like civilian policing. And then TET happened.
That MACV-G2 had predicted that there was going to be a major offensive, and we had heard that many, many times before, but they said, no, this is the real thing.
And they said they expect there may be some trouble, there may be things happening.
We were warned that tonight is the night.
They were pretty sure something bad was going to happen.
You know, we thought just another warning, but that time it was true.
All hell broke loose.
And then the shit hit the fan.
And we were cast into another role, and that was to defend the city and take care of business.
The enemy very deceitfully has taken advantage of the TET truce in order to create maximum consternation within South Vietnam, particularly in the populated areas.
I was on duty in town.
I was up in the tower around MACV headquarters, around Westmoreland's headquarters.
I had just come off duty. We were working like 3 to 11 shift.
And I was on patrol down downtown.
My driver, Charles Miller, Spec 4 Miller, and I loaded up a thing of coffee, and we were going to go around and take coffee or do a coffee run so that the guys could, hopefully stay awake a little bit better.
We were up in the day room. I think we were watching a movie at the time when all the lights went off, the power went out or something.
We could hear the radio traffic. We heard stuff starting to happen.
And I first heard the radio transmissions crackling on the radio, so I could pretty much hear what was going on.
I guess the alert bell went off about 3 in the morning.
The embassy was under attack.
As I recall, it was like 37 different places were hit at the same time within 30 minutes.
It just lit up, and you could hear mortars going off, you could hear the machine gun fire. It was just pandemonium.
And for a couple hours, we sat around waiting. There was so much happening, they weren't sure where to send people yet.
Military police got back into the compound of the $2.5 million embassy complex at dawn. Before that, a platoon of Viet Cong were in control.
My unit leader was Sergeant Morrison.
And they broke the alert team in half. And my half ended up going out to the racetrack.
We stopped about a block short of where there were a couple of MP Jeeps burning.
What we didn't know and found out later was the Fudo Racetrack Grandstand was a staging area for thousands of NVA and Viet Cong soldiers.
In that instance, I look back now that Sergeant Morrison saved our lives. The fact that we stopped a block away.
Kind of went up the street, each side of the street.
And we started receiving fire. We ended up meeting them within 300 yards of their spot.
Shots came out, and first time the tracer rounds come at you is a little different than what you used to.
Exchanged fire for several hours. I don't know what they thought, but they didn't come past us.
By daylight, Tongan Boulevard, where the embassy is located, was a battleground. No one, unless identified, was allowed in the street.
Get out, dude! Get back!
I was scheduled to drive the Deuce and a Half. They had more people than they needed on that truck.
I got back to the barracks, and they were just, they were on their way. They had already been going down the alley.
The Deuce and a Half took 2 RPGs.
All the men, or most of the men, got killed in an instant.
My lasting memory is seeing that truck go by with those guys on it, you know, so that was my lasting memory that's been engraved in my mind.
We got the call to go to the American Embassy.
And I was just down the street, probably about 4 blocks away.
I remember waking up or being woke up about 3 o'clock in the morning, and they said they were murdering the embassy.
Their plan of operation was that they were going to hit the South Palace. It was Gate 5. They hit it with the B-40s, with the RPGs, killed the guards there.
I was at the embassy, but on the way we were supposed to go to BOQ-3. They diverted us to the embassy. When we got there, we disembarked our vehicle about 2 blocks from us. So the only thing we could think of was a fire at the VC, see if we could take him out. They were trying to breach the main gate, where VC had blown a hole down from the main gate to access inside, and they were inside the compound. They never breached the embassy.
This is where the Viet Cong raiders broke in. They'd sneaked up and blasted a hole in the reinforced concrete fence surrounding the compound.
So we were instructed to clear the building across from it because they thought they were getting fire from that also, from VC and everything. So we went up there clearing floors. As we went to about the 4th floor, found the laundry area to try and be able to fire support down over the gate because it was about 10, 12 foot tall. So we see a couple VC with grenades covering behind some these large round circles that were flower pots at one time. And with us firing, somebody in all their wisdom decided to make every one of our rounds tracer rounds because they said they were slower impact and you'd be able to not hit indigenous personnel other than who you're firing at. So we headed back downstairs and headed over to try and breach in. By that time they had gotten into the compound. They were some dispersed to the left of the embassy, and we went on back behind the chancellor. Well, they had infiltrated that. They never did get into the embassy.
But none of the raiders lived to tell of their exploit. By 8 o'clock, 5 hours after they first broke in, almost all of them were dead. All in civilian clothes, they'd been armed with American M16 rifles and also rocket launchers and rockets. They had explosives, their purpose apparently to destroy the embassy. In that purpose, they did not succeed.
I said, we'll head over towards the embassy, because that was our one of our number one priorities. Probably wasn't the smartest idea as I look back now. I had scrounged a helicopter Grimes light. A Grimes light is the rotating light on a Huey. I had appropriated that to make my Jeep the best looking in the battalion. And so I turned on the Grimes light, and the street turns green with tracers. And I'm going, shit, we don't use green tracers. And so I'm right behind the radio rack getting down, and lights go out. I'm unconscious. I wake up, I have taste the blood in my mouth. I can feel the blood in my hands. Kind of make a quick inventory about my feet still working, my arms still working. I got everything intact. My hearing is diminished. I can hear. I can see, for example, my Jeep is on fire. As it turns out, the Jeep had been hit in the gas tank by a B-40. The fuel that hadn't been consumed in the explosion was, there was fire creeping into, you know how a street is crowned. So the gasoline and fire is coming towards me as I'm laying in the gutter there. And so I thought, got to, you know, get to a safe place, get to a defensive position. So I started low crawling on the asphalt. You know, lots of lots of pain from doing that. Never low crawled on asphalt before. So I'm low crawling along, and I hear a sound off to my side. I roll around to engage what I think is going to be somebody coming after me, and it turns out it's my driver, and he's booking by me. I had about, I don't know, probably about another 10 yards to go to get to a tree. So I got to the tree where Chuck was, and we started, when we saw movement, we'd fire at it. But I had shrapnel all through my hands and completely penetrated all my fingernails. So when I went to reload my first magazine to open up and to pinch the magazine out, absolutely excruciating pain. Never felt pain like that before. They would just bring hell on us. We'd get hit with a B-40. You know, I just remember, whoosh, bang, and you know, you could feel the heat from the rocket coming over you, enveloping you, and then exploding. And it was just really terrifying. And I was thinking, who was the son of a bitch that thought of nothing but tracers? I didn't think that was a really good idea. We'd taken out the driver, I guess, of one of these vehicles that was going to be used to you know, use their satchel charges to breach the gate 5. But we were firing where we saw the fire coming from. We were down to a magazine and a half, or I had a magazine and a half left by the time we finally were able to withdraw.
The enemy had been planning the TET Offensive for the past 6 months. Almost 100 tons of military supplies had been moved into the region around Saigon.
Then we went down to the Arvin radio station in the ice house with a number of other guys. We fought down there, and then honestly we fought for 5 or 6 days and never went back to the Capitol Hotel where I was billeted. I was looking over the shoulder of the clerk, and he had me on the missing in action list, and they were going to call my father. And I raced down to the radio station and called home on radio telephone. They were walking up my front steps to inform my father that I was missing in action. Because I hadn't reported back into the Capitol, and I had lost one Jeep, and the Jeep I had did not have a radio, so we were really out of contact.
And for guys not having a lot of combat experience, I think we did a pretty good job. When we were there, we were young, naive, but we really thought we were winning over all the country. We thought we're going to skate on this one and clean up business and go home. Well, it didn't happen that way.
And I was just really angry at the way things happened with the guys that I lost in an instant. Young fellas, most of them draftees, most of them from the Midwest. And I stayed in touch with a lot of their wives and mothers and things like that for a while. And even that gets to you.
We lost men, yes, we lost men and who bravely fought, but according to what we did to them, I mean, we won a presidential citation, which is right. We really deserved that, you know.
We always thought we were pretty good. We found out later that we were the most highly decorated unit, military police unit in the Army, which we all were pretty proud of after the fact.
Coming back through the airport, there was hippies protesting the war and stuff like that. That hurt.
I was from Sydney, and they gave me $20 and said, see you later. That was about it.
So when we got back, it was very unruly. People calling you baby killer, spitting, throwing things at you. So right away we learned, you know, send me back to Vietnam. Well, at least over there, when they threw something at me, I could throw something back.
It's kind of hard to understand, you know, why are they protesting us?
There was a time when I really wasn't I didn't want to tell anybody I was a Vietnam veteran because of the way I was being treated when I did. And it really hurt my feelings. But I overcame that.
Well, it kind of hurt, you know, knowing I was there and, you know, doing the job they had asked me to do. I went back to school after I got out. Now I had the GI Bill to cover me, so I had pretty much all my expenses covered. But there would be protests and stuff like that, and they would ask me, why aren't you joining us? I said, I can't. I said, I'm getting money from the government to come to school here. I'm not going to screw that up. I said, I want my 4 years of GI Bill. I'm not going to lose that just so I can go out there and protest with you. Even if I wanted to, I wouldn't do it. You know, I'm not going to, you know, endanger the guys that are over there by protesting.
You know, you think you're pretty important. And I came home to my hometown, which is a little town in Iowa. And people would say, well, yeah, where you been? I said, I've been to Vietnam. Oh. Nobody really cared, seemed like. We didn't get much of a welcome, as history has shown. We didn't like it. We weren't well treated. Came home to a country in 68, 69 that was in chaos.
Of course, coming back at 22, you're a lot older than 22 after you've been in war. You've got a total different outlook on life than what a kid coming out of high school into college would have, you know.
Yet that you really, you know, I was 19 when I got there, but when I left, I felt like I was much more mature and ready to take on whatever comes next. You know, I value the time I spent with the military police a lot.
The Army and Vietnam gave me a career. I ended up doing 46 years in law enforcement. I would have never got that had I not been trained as a military policeman. That was a great gift for me. It definitely changed my life, for the better.